as you know, I was president of this university for 7 years and then left for 10 years, and so I've been back for 3 years, but that gives me a bit of a perspective, and the perspective is the fact that engineering at Ohio State is world class, and welding engineering being where it is within this university and within kind of the larger national, international arena, it is enormously important. I have run into, and this is literally the truth, I've run into welding engineering graduates all around the world, so it's a program of great international dimension.
Parents, kids looking at Ohio State show up here and they see welding engineering listed as a discipline, and they think, of course, of welding as being somebody out in the field actually welding, making a weld, physically making a weld. The difference here is that we teach the engineering aspects of welding. So behind somebody making a weld, there's a lot of material science, there's a lot of design, there's a lot of electrical engineering, there's a lot of inspection technology. And so we teach welding at a very high level, and the students who leave here are the engineers who design welds, who do inspection of welds, who understand the properties behind welds that make welded structures safe and useful to society.
Welding engineering is not someone in a back room with a welding mask on. What it's all about is about engineering. It's about creating a manufacturing and a base and an intellectually stable opportunity for people to rethink the whole nature of what manufacturing is about. Welding engineering is absolutely at the center of that kind of a conversation.
Welding engineers fill a role that's very important in manufacturing. And what I think we're going to see in the future is a renewed emphasis on manufacturing in the United States.
I was concerned that, engineering might be disappearing from the United States. But what I've seen over the last 10 years is that the need for welding engineers seems to be ever increasing as the demands on the things we're building are increasing. Those demands can't be met by, engineers who do not have a strong background in the science of arc welding. It really today requires, if you're building a pipeline for to go in 6,000 feet of water, if you're building a blowout preventer so that it doesn't fail when it's needed most, if you're building something that's going into any kind of hostile or corrosive environment, it requires a real fundamental understanding of not only the metallurgy involved in welding, but also the control of the processes involved in welding, whether that's arc welding or laser welding, electron beam welding, soldering, brazing, what have you.
Again, as we look at manufacturing, everything that you look around you is manufactured. If you were to really look at it, you see that there's some joining process that is involved in it. It doesn't take much to look around your world and see that welding plays a big part in our manufacturing environment here.
When students come into the program, a lot of them have heard about the reputation that the Welding Engineering Department has. It has quite an impressive national reputation. Ohio State is the only ABET accredited welding engineering department in the country.
The ABET accreditation means that we have a program that meets the highest standards, and the fact that we're the only one accredited in this country shows that there really is no competition.
All students usually get multiple job offers when they graduate. Usually the welding engineers and the chemical engineers are 1 and 2 in terms of incoming salary. So that's a big thing on the mind of young students, but they also like the diversity of the program. They know they're going to learn metallurgy. They know they're going to learn about processes like laser beams and electron beams. They know they may end up working at companies anywhere from NASA to medical products companies, etc.
I picked welding engineering because I really like hands-on welding, but I wanted to get into a field where it's more design of the welds and the applications and more overall components versus just doing the welding.
One of the things I'm very grateful for is by far the majority of welding engineers out there came through Ohio State University. So as a recruiter, I'm really fortunate to have kind of a pipeline of future talent right in my building, since we share the same facility as the Department of Welding Engineering.
Welding has just become so complex in the last 5 or 6 years, it's absolutely amazing. As everybody's probably told you, it's one of those things where it's very easy to get a job as a welding engineer. I think that was what was most attractive. But also just the unknown, because it's part science and part art.
My first job out of school was at Martin Marietta in New Orleans, Louisiana, working on the external tank. The NASA manager gave me a job application, and I was hired pretty much on the spot because I was an Ohio State alumni.
Welding engineering has opened so many doors for me. It's just unbelievable. This recent economic downturn that we've had, welding engineers are still working. I run a job service on the Welding Engineering Alumni website, and even during the worst part of this recession, I have posted at least 10 job postings every single month.
Well, way back when I graduated, maybe they still tell you that, a welding engineer is kind of a generalist. We take a little bit of electrical, a little bit of mechanical, a little bit of metallurgy, a lot of welding. I took a civil class, I took thermal, so what the draw was, even though I was going to be a welding engineer to start, was they said, you look at the charts later on, very few people necessarily stay in purely welding engineering field. They go into management, they go into other facets because we have a general broad background compared to some degrees which are more narrow.
It's a much more horizontal degree. You touch on a number of areas. Instead of being just simply captured by one aspect of engineering, you have to cross across a number of areas. It has that notion of being more based on concepts that come from a variety of areas.
This year I'm the captain of the Baja SAE team, so we build an off-road vehicle and compete against about 100 different schools across the country. I was fortunate enough to get an internship the summer after my sophomore year, and I've been back to the same company for 3 summers. I've learned more on that than I could have learned from books. The stuff that I did related back to classwork I did help me with projects during the summer. Hopefully it'll lead to a full-time job. I think everyone should have that opportunity.
During my time as an undergraduate research assistant, I worked on a lot of projects that had to do with the oil and gas industry. It really integrated well with the classwork that I was doing at the same time. I got to see a lot of different projects that were applicable to industry and a lot of problems that the industry faced. We were given the task of figuring out what was going on and trying to solve their problems.
Working as an undergraduate researcher has given me the opportunity to develop both personal and professional relationships with not only graduate students, but the professors and fellow undergraduate students, and that's been very rewarding. The Denman Undergraduate Research Forum is this research competition that happens at Ohio State every year, where any students that are participating in undergraduate research have a chance to present their work to a series of judges, and it was a very rewarding experience. I got a second place within the engineering category.
I'm captain of our moon buggy team, so that takes up a lot of my time, but it's a really cool project. We build our moon buggy every year and then go down to Huntsville, Alabama and race, so we're looking forward to that this year. I'm also a tour guide for the engineering department, so I consider myself a person with plenty of free time for the amount of work that I'm doing and the amount that it's paying off for me, I know.
Heck, you're talking me into being a welding engineer. If I start over again, I'm going to be a welding engineer.